Hi, my name is Erwin Buggenhout. I work for iText, which is one of the world's leading providers of PDF technology. Today, I want to talk to you about documents, PDF documents, of course, given the fact that I'm from iText. But I also want to talk about a story that we lived together with the guys from New Ocean Health Solutions, one of our customers. And by the end of the talk that I'm going to give, I also want to give you something which is a good starting point to power up your own PDF output. Before I do, I want to just express my gratitude to the guys from HIMSS to basically overnight turn a conference of tremendous magnitude into a digital event. It's a great job and a great opportunity for me to share this story and for you, obviously, um, to get access to a lot of great content on health. But I wanted to talk about PDFs, of course. If you look at business processes today, what you actually see is that still a lot of business processes require a document to be produced. A lot of those business processes require some reporting in a certain way, shape, or form. And if we look at that form typically is a PDF. Although other document formats gain a little bit ground in recent years, still PDF is like the major format, the most dominant format of documents on the web. The data I have here is based on documents on the web. I think if we would have data of all documents also beyond what we see on the web, I think the dominance of PDF as a format for documents would even be more significant. So that goes to show that PDF is really still a very important format. And I'm sure that also you would have business processes in your company that require the generation of a PDF document. I'm sure you have more than one. But I told you I was going to talk about New Ocean Health. New Ocean Health is one of their full name is New Ocean Health Solutions. And New Ocean Health Solutions is one of our customers, which is based in Pennsylvania. And they're basically a software vendor that provides a platform for corporations to provide solutions to their employees to stay in health, to improve their health, or to stay in great shape. That's basically what they do. What they do. And the solutions that they provide, their wellness solutions, are very comprehensive. They encompass things like lifestyle management, exercise, nutrition, chronic disease management, you name it. Basically, everything that has to do with wellness is covered by this application. The form it takes is basically a web application, a mobile application rather, that individual employees can run on their smartphones. And basically, they get daily tips on things they can do in terms of making sure that they eat healthy food, making sure that they exercise enough, there are programs which kind of tap into specific conditions, specific chronic diseases that they might have, and all of that data is very personalized, very individualized for the individual employee. Now, the way that works is that well, it starts off with a private health assessment, and that private health assessment basically is the starting point for everything. Using behavioral sciences and economics, an individual program for each employee is being calculated, and that program then takes the shape of daily tips in the mobile app. Cool platform, obviously very beneficial to the individuals who get the tips. They stay they stay in shape, their health really improves. But it's also obviously very beneficial to the companies that use this for their employees, because obviously every company wants employees that are healthy and in great shape. Now, what does this story have to do with PDF documents? Well, one of the requirements that the guys from New Ocean Health had was to generate a report a PDF report right after the private health assessment that somebody takes. And that report should contain all of the personal data that was provided by the employee. And on top of that, an overview of all the programs, the health programs, that through their profile they would automatically be enrolled into, and also suggestions of or suggestions for other enrollments. That's basically what should be in that PDF document. So if you look at that requirement, it's probably something that you can also relate to in your own business processes, because basically what happens is that we have data that is generated by an application in this case, and then we want to use that data to be merged into a document template to produce a great looking PDF document, which is highly individualized, highly personalized, and very good looking, right? So I'm sure you have business processes in your own company that are very similar. Now, on top of those things, what the guys from New Ocean Health asked us is to make sure that the documents that we produce would comply with standards for archiving and also for accessibility. And there are a lot of standards for accessibility. Think of things like the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. Think of things like Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act. Think also of more technological standards like the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG 2.1. We're at 2.1 now. And also there are also in Europe there are standards like EN 301-549. There's a lot of standards on accessibility. And if you look at those standards, basically what they all come down to is that any kind of content that you produce, whether it be a document, whether it be a website, that it should be presented in such a way that it supports the use of assistive technologies like magnifiers or screen readers typically. So that was a very specific requirement that the guys from New Ocean Health had to make sure that the documents they would produce using this technology should comply with these accessibility standards. Another requirement had to do with the time it would take to design those templates. It was kind of important to them to have a design experience that would allow very fast and straightforward and easy creation of beautiful templates for documents. And it should also be easy to deploy. That was another requirement. And well, given the fact that the typical clientele of New Ocean Health are enterprises, it was also pretty important that documents would be generated fast and that there would be a capability of doing that in very high volumes. So, out of the portfolio that we have in iText, which contains of developer tools on the one hand, that would give you great flexibility as a developer to build all sorts of amazing PDFs with a lot of crazy features. But that would also, for instance, or provide you access to capabilities like signing PDF documents, like splitting, merging PDF documents, and so on. But all of those based on like a coded approach. We have a second line of offerings, which is more focusing on convenience. So less code oriented, but more low code oriented. Things that, well, everybody can use that do not require a development background. Okay. And what we suggested here was to use, well, the flagship product of the low-code tools, so to speak, that we have, which is called iText Ditto. And if you look at iText Ditto, it basically consists of two parts. It consists of a template editor, which is a web-based application, and the other component is an API. I'm going to talk about the API in a minute, but let me first of all talk a little bit about the template editor. And rather than showing it to you here in the presentation, I can quickly take you to an example, to the actual application. Let me just do that. So what we see here is the iText Dito editor just running in a web browser. And we've loaded one of the templates from New Ocean Health. And what you can see here is that you basically have a canvas where you can edit the text and, well, add pictures and so on and so forth. And, well, adding text is like, there's a toolbox over here that helps you with that. Same thing for images. You can add tables. It's very straightforward. I mean, we don't have to explain how to do that. Everybody can do it. Okay. Apart from those things that have to do with the layout of your document, there's other things that you can do as well. But before I go into that, let me tell you another thing that has to do with layout, and that's this little thing, the template style sheets. Style sheets are, well, cascading style sheets are files that you can use that define how your content will be laid out. And typically, companies have those. They use them on their websites to define, well, the fonts and the colors and so on and so forth of the text they use, which kind of well, showcase their brand identity or their corporate identity. These style sheets, and that's a good thing about iText Dito, they can be used. You can just upload those into your templates, and automatically your templates will follow your corporate branding and your corporate identity by making use of those style sheets. But if you don't want to use them, no worries. You can use these things, the toolbox over here with all the properties that will help you align your text and give it the right color and so on and so forth. So you can use the more WYSIWYG tools or the WYSIWYG approach if you want to as well. So great capabilities of creating a template that looks good. That's one thing. But obviously, there's another thing, and that's merging data into that template. And to be able to merge data into the template, first of all, we need to create placeholders for the data points to be merged into the actual template. So to do that, it's pretty simple. You just basically upload a JSON file that corresponds in terms of layout. I mean, in terms of structure, that's the word I was looking for. In terms of structure, obviously has to be the same thing as what you're actually going to send as JSON data to the API when you generate documents. But you just upload a JSON sample, and you can start mapping items in the actual canvas. Like, for instance, we have mapped the first name over here, and the last name is over here as well, and so on and so forth. So there's a date over here, and so on and so forth. So that's the way you do it. It's very straightforward, very easy, very intuitive. If you have so-called arrays in your data, so repeating elements that is, you can basically also build tables or subforms that repeat for each iteration of your data. So very straightforward. You can also do conditional insertion of data. So that means that certain parts of your template will appear if the value of a certain data element will be this or that. Okay. So for instance, say that if your customer lives in the state of Pennsylvania, well, then you show a certain paragraph. If they live in another state, you don't show that paragraph, something like that. Or obviously, if they have a certain condition, then it is shown. If they don't have that condition, that paragraph is left out. So that's basically how all of that is built up. So in terms of data, there's quite a lot of things that you can do. In terms of design, there's a lot of things that you can do. But we also mentioned earlier on that it was a very important requirement for the guys from New Ocean Health that their PDF files would be compliant to accessibility standards. And now in the PDF lingo, accessibility is equal to PDF UA. PDF UA stands for universal accessibility. And basically what you can do is just switch from PDF to PDF UA mode, and then your file will be checked for accessibility. for compliance with all the requirements that the different accessibility standards have. And typically, these standards require that you provide a title for your document. I'll just quickly type my path report in here, so it has a title. They also require that you indicate in which language that your document is generated, so that your screen reader knows which preset language to switch to. I'll just type English in here. There you go. You can select from a list. There you are. Okay, so those are two requirements already that our accessibility wizard have pointed out that we needed to address. If I click apply, then we're going to check all other stuff in this template that needs our attention. For instance, and these are the most important ones in this particular template, images. So the PDF UA standard says that every image in a document that we produce should have an alternative description. Obviously, a screen reader cannot read out an image. The only thing it can do is read out the alternative description, and we can basically, if we click that missing image alternative description, it will take us to the place where we can set it, and we can just type whatever description that we want to type. For instance, this is the title background image. There you go. And you can move on and, well, repair, so to speak, all the warnings that you get until your PDF file is perfectly compliant with the PDF UA standard, which means that it will be an accessible document that can be read out by screen readers. Let me take it back to the presentation to talk a little bit about the API. Basically, the API, which is the other component of iText Dito, next to the editor. Let's put it back in presentation mode for you guys. The API is is the component that actually does the big work, the real work of generating the documents. And that API component can be deployed as a native Java application, which is very handy, of course, if you're a Java developer. But it also can be deployed in a Docker container. And that Docker image has a REST API, which makes it basically accessible from any environment. It's language agnostic, so to speak. It's also very easy to deploy. It's easy to spin up such a Docker container, which makes Dito a solution that is very easy to scale as well. So if you want to cope with extreme volume requirements, or if you just have high availability scenarios that you need to address, then the Docker is a very good option to achieve those. So I think that's the most important thing I wanted to tell you in this presentation. To round it up, basically, what iText has been able to provide to New Ocean Health was a way basically to collect data from their customers' data sources, provided a template design experience that was a massive time saver. I think, if I remember the quote correctly, what the guys reported to us is that they could do now with the template editor in 45 minutes what would have taken them up to 2 weeks using all sorts of PDF libraries that are code-driven rather than WYSIWYG. And apart from being a time saver, obviously the tool has helped them comply with archiving and accessibility standards as well. Plus, it is a powerful and scalable, there's the powerful and scalable API component to generate the documents that they need very quickly and in high volumes. So, as a quick takeaway from this sort of talk, what I would like to suggest to you is that you give it a spin, give it a try yourself, and you can do so. You can actually go to https://dito.online, and you can get a 30-day free trial for iText Dito. It will give you access to the editor, and you can start designing your templates. You can preview them if you want to, and if you want to test the API component to really generate documents in high volumes, if you want to give it a stress test or whatever kind of test that you want to do, feel free to reach out to us, and then we'll provide you with a license for the API so you can try it. Okay.